Okay, so get this. We're diving deep into confirmation bias today.
Oh yeah, confirmation bias.
You've probably heard of it.
Definitely heard of it.
But there's like way more to it than just like, looking
Mm.
for info that backs up what you already think.
Right.
We've got research and real world examples that
Mhm.
are going to like totally blow your mind.
It's pretty wild how pervasive it is.
So it's not just some like new psych thing, right?
No, not at all, actually.
Okay.
Philosophers have been wrestling with this concept for centuries.
Really?
Yeah, way back in the 5th century BC, Thucydides nailed it.
Thucydides?
Yeah, the Greek historian,
Okay.
he said, and I quote,
Okay.
"It is a habit of mankind to entrust to careless hope what they long for, and to use sovereign reason to thrust aside what they do not fancy."
Wow. Okay. That's,
It's a mouthful.
it is a mouthful, but I think I
No.
get what he's saying.
Yeah, basically, we humans are really good at believing what we want to believe
Right.
and ignoring anything that, bursts our bubble.
For sure. Like no one wants to be wrong.
Exactly. And, even someone like Warren Buffett.
Oh, wow. Okay. Mr. Rational himself.
Right. Even he recognizes the power of this bias.
What has he said about it?
He's famously said, "What the human being is best at doing is interpreting all new information so that their prior conclusions remain intact."
Okay. So even the Oracle of Omaha is admitting that we're all susceptible to this.
We're all human.
All right. I'm officially intrigued, I have to admit.
Good.
But let's back up for a sec.
Sure.
What exactly is confirmation bias? Like in a nutshell.
Okay, so think of it as your brain's built-in yes man.
Okay.
It's that tendency to favor information that confirms your existing beliefs
Uh-huh.
while downplaying or completely ignoring anything that contradicts them.
So it's like we're all walking around with these mental filters on
Exact.
that just screen out anything that doesn't fit our preconceived notions.
It's kind of wild when you think about it.
Yeah, so it's not just that we prefer information that supports our views.
Right.
It's like we're actually actively filtering out anything that challenges them.
Precisely.
Wow, okay. And this isn't always a conscious choice, is it?
No, not at all.
Really?
Our brains are wired for efficiency,
Right.
and confirmation bias is kind of like a mental shortcut.
Okay.
It helps us process information quickly
Makes sense.
and make decisions without getting bogged down in too much complexity.
So it's like a mental shortcut that sometimes leads us down the wrong path.
You got it.
And this isn't just limited to our opinions and beliefs, right?
Well, it can affect everything.
Really? Like what?
From the news we consume to the friends we choose, even to the investments we make.
Okay, so how does this actually play out in the real world?
Well, let's see.
I need some concrete examples to really wrap my head around this.
Okay, well, one classic example is the debate between creationists
Okay.
and evolutionary biologists.
Creationists and evolutionary biologists.
Yeah, they're both looking at the same evidence,
Which
fossils,
Okay.
but they're interpreting it in completely different ways.
Yeah. Wait, so they're both looking at literal dinosaur bones
Yeah, pretty much.
and coming to completely opposite conclusions?
It sounds crazy.
It really does.
But it's a perfect example of confirmation bias in action.
So how are they interpreting the evidence so differently?
Well, creationists might see fossils as evidence of a great flood
Okay.
or a divine test,
Interesting.
while evolutionary biologists see them as proof of gradual change over millions of years.
So it's like those optical illusions.
Yes.
Where you can see two different images depending on how you look at it.
Exactly.
Except in this case, it's not just our eyes playing tricks on us.
Right.
It's our brains.
That's a great analogy.
Another example.
Let's see. Another striking example is the phenomenon of doomsayers.
Oh, yeah. The end of the world, folks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
They predict the end of the world.
Right.
And when it doesn't happen,
Which it hasn't yet.
right, they simply adjust the date.
They just move the goalposts.
Yeah. And hold on to their beliefs even more tightly.
It's almost as if the failed prediction somehow reinforces their conviction.
It's a bit mind-boggling.
It really is.
But it highlights the powerful need for what we call cognitive consistency.
Okay, cognitive consistency. So our brains crave a sense of order
Exactly.
and predictability.
Yes.
And when our beliefs are challenged,
Mm.
it creates this feeling of discomfort.
Right, which is known as cognitive dissonance.
Okay, what's that?
It's basically mental discomfort.
Okay.
When we encounter information that contradicts our beliefs,
Yeah.
it creates a kind of mental tension that we're naturally motivated to reduce.
So rather than changing our minds, which can be hard work,
Yes,
we find ways to just rationalize away the conflicting information.
precisely. And those rationalizations can range from subtle reinterpretations of the evidence
Okay.
to full-blown conspiracy theories.
So confirmation bias isn't just some harmless quirk.
Right.
It can actually lead us down some pretty, dangerous paths.
It absolutely can, and it's not just limited to extreme examples like creationism or doomsaying.
Okay, so then how does it affect us in our everyday lives?
It affects our everyday decisions in countless ways,
Really?
often without us even realizing it.
Okay, now I'm starting to get a little worried.
I understand.
If this bias is, so pervasive
It really is.
and powerful, is there any hope for us?
Oh, there is.
Okay, good.
The good news is that we're not completely at the mercy of our biases.
Phew.
There are strategies we can use to mitigate the effects of confirmation bias.
Okay, so there are ways to fight back.
Absolutely, but we'll delve into those later.
Okay, sounds good.
So we were talking about how confirmation bias can, really mess with our thinking.
Yeah, it's kind of scary, actually.
It can be. But
Yeah.
you know what's interesting is that it even shows up in something as simple as music.
Music, really?
Yeah.
I thought we were talking about, big, important stuff.
Yeah, right.
Like politics and religion.
Yeah, but music is a big part of our lives, too. And confirmation bias can totally influence our taste in music.
Okay, I'm curious. Tell me more.
All right, so have you ever, gotten chills listening to a song?
Oh, yeah, totally.
Especially when a certain part comes in that you've been waiting for?
Yes, like when the chorus drops or there's, an unexpected key change.
Exactly.
It's, the best feeling.
It is, and that's actually confirmation bias at work.
No way.
Yeah, our brains love predictability.
Makes sense.
And when we can anticipate what's coming next in a song, it's incredibly rewarding.
So, my brain is giving me a high five.
Pretty much, we actually get a little dopamine rush from that confirmation of our expectations.
So you're telling me that my love for 80s power ballads
Could be.
is just my brain craving a predictable dose of cheesy guitar riffs and soaring vocals.
It's a possibility.
That's kind of hilarious.
It is.
But it also makes sense.
I mean, it's not to say that all your musical preferences are based on confirmation bias,
Right.
but it definitely plays a role.
Interesting.
It's part of what makes music so enjoyable, you know?
That feeling of anticipation and then boom.
Exactly.
It's like, oh yeah, I knew it.
You got it.
Okay, so music. That's fun.
Yeah.
But let's move on to something maybe a little less fun.
Like what?
Like homeopathy.
Oh, yeah, homeopathy.
You mentioned this earlier and I'm still kind of confused.
Okay, so homeopathy is a great example of how confirmation bias can sustain beliefs.
Even when there's no scientific evidence.
Exactly.
Rob.
The whole idea of homeopathy is based on this concept of water memory.
Water memory. What's that?
It suggests that water can retain the properties of substances it previously contained,
Okay.
even after being diluted to the point where none of the original substance remains.
Wait, so you're saying that if you take a drop of chamomile extract
Right.
and dilute it in gallons and gallons of water, the water will somehow remember the calming properties of the chamomile?
That's the idea.
That seems like a stretch.
It does, and scientific studies haven't really found any evidence to support it.
Okay, but so where does confirmation bias fit into all of this?
So people who believe in homeopathy often rely on anecdotal evidence or personal experiences.
Support their beliefs.
Right. They might say something like, oh, I took this homeopathic remedy and my headache went away, so it must work.
But couldn't that just be the placebo effect?
Exactly. If you believe something will work, you're more likely to perceive a benefit.
Even if there's no real physiological change.
Exactly. And confirmation bias makes us more likely to interpret ambiguous information in a way that supports our existing beliefs.
So even if the evidence is kind of iffy, we're primed to see what we want to see.
That's how it works.
So it's not just about seeking out information that confirms our beliefs.
Right.
It's also about interpreting ambiguous information in a way that fits our narrative.
Precisely. And this can have real-world consequences.
Oh, yeah.
Especially in areas like healthcare, where decisions based on faulty beliefs can be really serious.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So confirmation bias, it's not just a harmless quirk. It can actually be pretty insidious.
It's like this invisible force that's shaping our perceptions and decisions without us even realizing it.
And it's not just limited to individuals either.
What do you mean?
Organizations can fall prey to confirmation bias, too.
Really? Like how?
Well, one area where this is really obvious is in the hiring process.
Okay, so let's say you have a hiring manager.
Right.
Who has a strong gut feeling about a particular candidate.
Based on their resume, maybe?
Yeah. They've already kind of made up their mind.
Yes. And because of this pre-existing bias, they might unconsciously ask questions.
that lead the candidate to give the answers they want.
Exactly. They might overlook potential red flags or weaknesses.
And they might even interpret the candidate's answers in a more favorable light.
Right. It's like a self-fulfilling prophecy.
And then when they ask for references,
Yeah.
they probably only contact the ones the candidate gave them.
The ones who are obviously going to say good things.
So the whole hiring process becomes this echo chamber.
Pretty much it becomes a series of steps designed to confirm the manager's initial belief.
That this is the right person for the job.
Exactly.
And that can lead to some pretty bad hiring decisions.
It happens all the time.
You end up with someone who looks good on paper,
Right.
but might not actually be a good fit for the role.
Which can lead to all sorts of problems.
What?
Decreased productivity, increased turnover.
Yeah, that makes sense.
So how can organizations avoid this?
Yeah. Are there strategies they can use to fight back against confirmation bias?
There are, but we'll get into those after a quick break.
All right, so we've been talking about all the ways that confirmation bias can mess us up.
Yeah, it's a bit of a downer.
It is. But before we all give up hope,
Right.
let's talk solutions.
Yes, let's do that.
Is there any way to actually break free from this mental trap?
Absolutely. The first step is awareness.
Okay, so step one, admit we have a problem.
Exactly, just recognizing that it exists and that we're all susceptible to it.
Right, okay, check. But how do we actually change our thinking?
Well, one powerful strategy is to actively seek out disconfirming evidence.
Disconfirming evidence.
Yeah, so instead of just reading news sources that align with your political views, for example, make an effort to read articles from publications that represent different perspectives.
So basically force ourselves to be a little uncomfortable.
It might feel that way at first,
Yeah.
but it's crucial for growth and critical thinking.
Get out of our echo chambers.
Exactly.
What else can we do?
Another technique is to play devil's advocate,
Oh, I like that.
both with yourself and in group discussions.
So force ourselves to argue the opposite side.
Yeah, even if we don't agree with it personally.
Right, it's like a mental exercise.
It helps us detach from our emotional investment in being right
Okay.
and instead focus on objectively evaluating the evidence.
And when it comes to decision making, especially at work,
Yes.
how can we apply this?
Structuring the process around disconfirming evidence can be really valuable.
You mentioned hiring earlier.
Right.
So instead of asking candidates to just sell themselves.
Yeah, which totally plays into confirmation bias.
Right. What are some better questions to ask?
Well, you could try asking questions that force candidates to reveal potential weaknesses or challenges they've faced.
Okay. So instead of what are your strengths?
Exactly. You could ask something like, why shouldn't we hire you for this role?
Oh, wow. That's a tough one.
It is, but it's effective.
It forces them to really think.
It does. It's about digging deeper and looking for evidence that might challenge your initial assumptions.
And with references.
Don't just rely on the ones they give you.
Oh, yeah. Go beyond the curated list.
Exactly.
Reach out to former colleagues or supervisors who weren't on that list.
They might have a different perspective.
A more objective one, potentially?
So it's all about actively searching for information that challenges our assumptions.
Yes.
And makes us rethink our conclusions.
It's not always easy, but it's worth it.
It sounds like it.
Confirmation bias is powerful, but we can learn to counter it.
That's good to know.
We can become more objective thinkers and make better, more informed decisions.
In all areas of our lives.
Well, that's a great note to end on, I think.
I think so too.
Thanks for joining us today for this deep dive into confirmation bias.
It's been my pleasure.
It's been fascinating and a little unsettling.
It's always good to challenge our assumptions.
That's for sure.
Yeah.
Until next time, keep those minds open and those biases in check.
And keep learning.